I can't go back and change things. But I do know that I got to a point where I was standing at the Olympics in Sochi. It was 2014. And I had this like insane winning run. I had all the tricks and I just couldn't put it down. And deep down, I didn't really want to. I just kind of lost it.
Welcome to the Let Me Save You 25 Years podcast, where we break down a new Shawnism each week. Each one of these is a lesson I've learned along the way in hopes that you can maybe learn from my mistakes and build great things even bigger, better, faster than I ever did, perhaps shaving off a decade or two from your own journey. Whatever product or service or organization you are involved with, these are simply true principles for success in life, unpacked in great depth by a couple of successful people each week. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and share it out. I like to think that we are uncovering great content that is unique in its focus and practicality. My book, called Let Me Save You 25 Years, where today's topic comes from, is intentionally really short. So think of this as the long version of that book, where we can go even deeper into each of these Shawnisms and other concepts as well, made richer with the contributions from these amazing guests. Our Shawnism today, number 3, be willing to sweep floors. Okay, I can't be more excited for the guest we get today to unpack this with us. I mean, world famous. But before we get into all that, just wanted to break down this concept from my own story. You know, the story in the book that I share is back in the earliest days of Lovesac. I mean, look, it's first it's just me, and then it's me and a couple friends, and we're doing boat shows, home shows, car shows, like wherever we can find a 10 by 10 booth to flop the sacks down and turn up some music and give people a good time and hopefully convince them to take one of these, $500,000 not beanbags home. Actually, we had to then make them because, of course, like the ones we used for the show were the only ones we had. So like we'd take orders, I'd go back home, roll the fabric out on the floor, cut it out, drive the van, drop them off at our seamstress, pick them up a few days later, take them down to factory stuff. And this is all between college, my other job, I'm waiting tables, paying my way through school, whatever it took, loading in, loading out, setting up, selling. That's what you do, And look, no one's going to feel bad for an entrepreneur, but that willingness to just do whatever job it takes is absolutely critical. And, the trick is things get more sophisticated. The business gets bigger, the organization gets bigger, you have teams, you have employees, whatever. Can you keep that sincere willingness to do anything, to do whatever it takes to get the job done? That's the spirit behind this. Be willing to sweep floors. Number 3, Shawnism. I mean, it's that high on the list. And in fact, it's one of our core values at Lovesac. We only have 3 stated core values at my company of, 1,500 people now, 250 retail locations. And that third core value is be willing to sweep floors. And so from the top to the bottom, that's our attitude. And I've tried really hard to maintain that. And that's why, if there's something happening or some way that I can pitch in, unload, work Black Friday, work through the weekend, sell stuff on the floor, whatever it takes. I hope that most of the people that work at Lovesac know, like I would never ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do. I've had sacks that have too much foam in them, willingness to take it in the back room, unzip it, get into that thing, take some foam out. And by the way, when that happens, sometimes it's a garbage bag or 2 or 3 or 4 worth of foam. And by the end, you're covered in it. It's just not a pleasant situation, but it has to be done. So like the floor models are great. And, if something gets to us with a quality problem, that's not a fun job. But I've done it recently. And so if you're asked to do that, look, it's like, I just work in the mall. No. You're asked to do whatever the job might entail. You can know that the CEO has the willingness to do this or that or whatever it takes. And I think like that's something I've really tried to hold myself to, is maintaining, even if it's not efficient. And that's the trick, is like, that's why the phrase is not sweep floors. The phrase is be willing to, because sometimes it's not efficient at my job to be doing those jobs, right? There are things that I'm paid to do that I can uniquely do as CEO, interface with investors. We're on NASDAQ, we're a publicly traded company. There are things that I need to do in my role that I don't have the time or whatever, but that doesn't change my willingness. And I think people can smell that sort of authenticity. And when you're able to maintain that as a leader, I think it has a tremendous impact on the organization. Right. So just a few, a bit from the book. There's nothing too hard, too long, too complicated, or too low for you. It doesn't matter how big the organization gets, how long you've been at it. It doesn't matter your title, your tenure, your education, your career, or to what degree you may have already paid your dues. You are always willing to do whatever it takes. You're always willing to sweep floors. An interaction that I had on social media recently with someone who was asking me a question about entrepreneurship and, whether they should stay at the company they're at. And I don't know, I was asked for some advice. It occurred to me that their ambitions, they struck me as a uniquely ambitious person. And my advice to them was, look, are you on the right bus? Because it's not enough just to be willing to sweep floors. I think you have to look around sometimes and make sure that you're on the right bus to begin with, right? If your ambitions and what you want out of life greatly exceed what your organization might be able to offer you, and that doesn't mean today, like you may need to work your way up, as it were. But if you're on the wrong bus to begin with, or you're on the bus with, frankly, bad people, bad leaders, bad management, seek to work with A players, right? This is part of it, because you don't want to be willing to sweep floors at a place that can't allow you to grow. And look, I think you got to be willing to put in sometimes years. For me, I worked retail for years inside of my own company, right? Before that, I worked in the factory for 3 years stuffing sacks. Okay. So years of, it's not a question of whether, you feel like you're not valued. It's a question of whether the organization can allow you to grow. And then the third piece is, besides being at the right place, trying to work with A players, make sure you're on a bus with A players, so that, because if you're working with B players, their decisions are driven by nepotism, politics, favorites. A players and A management will always give you the chance to grow if you're awesome, which is really the third piece, is like, be amazing. Like, not just at the job, but like generally amazing. Show up amazing. If you're amazing, you're going to succeed, unless you're working for B players to begin with, or in a B organization. But if you're on a good bus with good people, ultimately, now it may take years. That's my last piece of advice, is you have to be patient. It may literally take years, because, organizations take time to grow. They're not just, there might be people ahead of you who are good at their job. So you can't just, push out. So sometimes you got to wait for the organization to grow to allow you to. And that's one of the, elusive things for people with ambition, is this idea of patience. That's why it's the very last chapter in my book, right? Pair endless ambition with infinite patience. Okay. But be patient, stay grounded, do your job, do it amazingly. And I promise you, ultimately, you will have success. You will rise up. You will be given more responsibility. It will happen, given enough time. It has to happen, because I can tell you, as a person who's like hired people my whole life, truly awesome people, they don't grow on trees. So if you are truly awesome and you have the stamina to be patient and be awesome for an extended period of time, you will go as high and as far as you want to go. End of story. It will happen. And so I'm so excited to unpack this concept with a superstar, someone who knows a lot about this and who's stayed hungry their entire career. And I think you're going to like it. So stay tuned. I couldn't be more excited and humbled than to be sitting here with one of the world's most decorated Olympians and one of the most famous athletes of all time, a dominating figure in 2 sports at least, and the first to win back-to-back winter and summer X Games in 2 different disciplines, snowboarding and skateboarding. His Olympic medal count is 18, with 13 of them gold, boasting the first quadruple win streak by a male athlete in one discipline, the snowboard slopestyle. Even cooler and hyper-relevant to this podcast, he's an entrepreneur and business leader himself. He is now an owning partner of the ski resorts he grew up practicing on and has somewhat recently launched his own active lifestyle brand called White Space, which is already on its way to becoming a leading brand that will eventually offer everything from outerwear, snowboard, hard goods, equipment, streetwear. Here to break down yet another Shawnism with me today, a Shaun himself, but better looking, far more fit, athletic, and talented version, Mr. Shaun White.
Oof, thank you.
Yeah, man.
What an intro.
Hey,
Right on.
Your legend precedes you.
Yeah. A lot of Shawns in this room.
It's so
a lot
weird.
Of Shawnage.
It's so funny. Actually, our host for the big event tomorrow, our MC, is this internet influencer, also named Shaun.
Oh, there we go. Let's get them together.
So it's like way too many Shawns involved. But
perfect.
Anyway, really glad to have you out here at Manager Fest. Take the time to play, take the time to record with us.
Of course.
So as you know, this week's episode mirrors one of the most fundamental Shawnisms in my book coming out this winter. Let me save you 25 years. The Shawnism is being willing to sweep floors. And I thought it would be such a fun one to break down with you, because like when I started Lovesac, this story, I just had to do everything. We cut out sacks, we delivered, we sold, whatever. And as I watched your documentary, it occurred to me, man, here is a person who came up, the hard way. Like you weren't exactly born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Your family had to really put you in a position where you could ride all the, at least on the weekends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I thought it'd be kind of fun to break down both as Shaun White, the athlete, because a lot of people look at someone in your position. I mean, you probably got people carrying your bags. You probably got people, worrying about your thirst. You probably got people, your nutrition.
Certain days.
Yeah. But then as I caught little glimpses of you, like over in Europe and things like that, I thought, there's a lot that goes unseen where, you have to sweep your own floors. You have to do the work. And now as an entrepreneur, I thought it'd be really cool because I think that's a big reason I want to have you on the podcast, right? Like you're beyond being an athlete, you're an entrepreneur. So, just when you hear this topic of, to be successful, being willing to sweep floors, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Gosh, I don't know. It's funny to hear it because, when I looked at my career from a glance, especially when my documentary came out, I got a chance to really pour through my life and things. And I think it's kind of that sweeping floors or that mentality to like grind it out and get it done, even when it wasn't great, was kind of like what defined me in my career. And I was surprised that not as many people had the same mentality.
What do you mean? So like, what stands out to you when you say that, when you say not as many people, what did you observe?
I'd be on the mountain and I'd be riding with friends and, they either lived in the mountains or they, had certain things going for them. They had the sponsor already. They, kind of were on the fast track. And I just remember being like, okay, well, what trick are we trying? And they're like, oh, I'm thinking about this trick, but I don't really know. And I'd watch them kind of just tiptoe around something for a whole week, month, almost the whole year. I'm like, what's happening? And I, at a certain point, only rode on the weekend. So I would get there and be like, I have only 2 days to do this trick. I have to do it. I have to get it done, or I have to wait this whole other week to come back. And so it just set this mentality of like, get it done. Like, let's go. And so every time I got to the resort, I just like pushed myself as hard as I could. And even when I figured, a trick, or was working on something that I really hated, I learned that if I just kept going, it would become easy. So I guess a lesson I'll share is my mom was, the last one of the family to start snowboarding. So it was my brother, myself, my sister, my dad, and then my mom started. And she's like, you guys are so good. How am I going to keep up with you? I tell you what, everyone in the family has to ride switch stance, which is your unnatural way of riding, which for me would be right foot forward. And you have to ride like that all day, every day until I can keep up.
Wow.
And I hated it. I was just like, but I'm forced to do it. And and then all of a sudden it just clicked. And I realized, wow, if I'm kind of like forced to do something that I don't like and I get over the annoyance of it and the frustration of it and really just give into it and keep at it, eventually it will get better. It will get easier. And then I started to just apply that to everything in my little world. And what happened later on was, I entered contests where I needed to take off switch and land regular or take off regular, land switch. And I was so good at it. It was this gift my mom gave me without even knowing it. So, I think of that, the dedication and the hard work on that front. And then I think of just like, I mean, you mentioned like carrying my bags, those things. I'm pretty down to earth, dude. Like, I don't know. I feel uncomfortable before carrying my stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think, like you said, if you watch my documentary, certain things, like I'm there with my team, and I want to make sure everybody's on the same trip I'm having, and everybody's working in the same direction, and nothing is beneath me, and nothing is something that I would ask somebody to do that I already hadn't done or would be willing to do. So I kind of like hold that pretty close. And I did come from more humble beginnings. So everything that I earned was like this amazing reward.
Yeah.
So
no, that's a simple concept we've all heard, but being willing, truly, intellectually willing to do anything you'd ever ask anyone else to do is something that comes up all the time in my own career. And I hope most of the people around me know that. I mean, through my presentations and, we are always recounting Lovesac history because it was so gnarly. I mean, we were literally shredding up, scrap foam by hand using like farm implements.
Wow.
Because we couldn't afford real equipment.
Yeah.
For a long time, for years. And then years of selling, and then years of selling in stores myself. Before we ever got to, now we have teams of people and layers on layers of management. But I still go out and I think like maintaining that edge. I mean, for you, you don't have a choice. I thought it was cool in your documentary when it talked about, you have to qualify. I mean, here you are, the legend of the sport. I'm sure that makes you feel weird, but
no, it's okay.
but you still just have to qualify like all the rest.
Yeah, of course.
And I think like the fact that, people probably, I don't know you very well. I mean, I've watched your whole career, but people are obviously willing to support you in your life, I think, when you're able to maintain that, at least the humility of, hey man, I can at least like, let me carry my own bag. It makes me feel weird.
Yeah.
Even though, you're at a point where that could happen in any way you want it to, that could manifest any way you want it to manifest. You could have your entourage. You could have,
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just the way I was raised, or maybe, I mean, like we didn't have the means to have, this ripping condo in the mountains that we just used all the time. And we didn't really have access to that. So we, I mean, my parents bought a van that was like this junker that was used as like a border lookout van, down in border of Mexico and California. And we got it reupholstered in Tijuana, and then we, put pizza boxes in the over the radiators so that would keep the heat inside the van. And like, we would go from town to town and do snowboarding contests and, family road trips and all of that so that we could, snowboard. And then ultimately, maybe a glimpse of me having a career in the sport. And so that's just kind of how we did it. So that's how I learned to do it later on. So, when thinking about, you mentioned, I started my own business and we launched around the Olympics, White Space, and we're offering boards and this gear and stuff and outerwear and things. And it's a very small team. I mean, I could easily start trying to throw capital around and hire all these people and have this huge budget and all this stuff, but it just isn't me.
You're bootstrapping it.
Yeah. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, who's important. Like, okay, I'm going to do all the product testing. I don't need a fleet of people to do that. I'm the guy.
Pretty good at breaking stuff.
And I want to make sure it's the best.
Yeah.
And so, and I go, okay, my brother, I love him. I trust him. I love his designs. I love his input. Together, we're an amazing team. And then I have like my best buddy from Vermont. His name's Miles Nathan. He's a guy I love, I trust, and he understands me. He understands the sport because he grew up in it, and he understands the world of business. And so it's like literally like the three of us as this dream team kind of doing it. And we're hiring out here and there for certain things. But like every day I get the call where it's like, hey man, would you like pop your head into this store just to make their day? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Why don't you make me a list of all the shops that I could go to? And if I'm in that resort, I could pop in, like I'll bring them donuts or I'll do something. Like it's that personal touch that I actually care enough to go in and do that, because I do care, and I want to make an impact, and I want to make that impression and a lasting one. So it's almost like I think of those things, when I played music in a band for a little while, they're like, hey, well, we could splurge and like get this road crew and this and that. And I'm like, nah, like I want people to see me pushing my amp out of the back door of this club at like 2 a.m. because I want them to know that this is real for me.
Yeah.
I do play.
You're not just buying your way in.
For sure. Yeah. And we're going to push it into this crummy van, and we're all going to rip around and then by the time we do get this big, tour bus or something, we're going to feel, amazing about it, because we didn't just jump straight into it. We earned it. And how great is that? So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of been a mentality for a while. And so when I think of like getting into the gritty of it, into the little bits and pieces, that's something that excites me, actually.
No, that's perfect. Yeah. I mean, I've tried to, so we have over 250 locations now.
Yeah.
I visit as many as I can throughout the year. I used to visit every single one. In fact, I used to drive an RV, before that a van, across the country. And basically October, November, December, I was in the stores working on the front lines with just doing the sales.
Yeah.
Not just because, I don't know, as a good salesperson or something, but because it comes back to that. I will always be willing to do anything I would ever ask you to do, including the burn of pushing your amp out. I played in bands too. I used to play Park City every weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Growing up in Salt Lake from the time I was like 20 to like.
You got to set up for sound check. You got to pack up your gear. You got to load it out.
That's right. And I know all of it. And I appreciate that about you.
Yeah.
And I knew this would lead down those roads. So I want to come back to something you said earlier. I think that's really powerful. One, my dad taught me the same pizza box trick to keep the heat in the radiator. So, we were cut from the same cloth that way. But two, and I really did that.
Yeah.
Growing up in Salt Lake, we had to,
you got to do it.
If you had the right vintage car, you had to. But two, this idea of design with constraints. So something you said, so I'll share like a personal tidbit. So
please.
For the first couple of years when I was teaching my kids to ski, it's so hard. I have 4 kids and just, walking from the car to and they're little, like I was teaching them at like 5 years old and 5, 7, 9, 11. And I'm carrying half their skis and poles, and this and that. And some of them are now moving on to snowboarding, but it was just hard. I'm trying to balance my work. I'm trying to get a ski day in, whatever, or on the weekends. But we did it, and we did it a lot. And when I would take them up there, they'd ski all day and just love it. Like, till sunset. We finally get a little place there in my local resort, Bryan Head, a place you've probably never been, Southern Utah.
I want to say I have. I mean, that was probably on one of our road trips. I don't know if it was my go-to spot.
It's the highest resort in Utah. And it's like Red Rock views. It's really weird. It's like one gas pump ski town.
Gosh, I know the name. Yeah.
Come down and ride.
I think I've been.
Get a kick out of it. You blow. Anyway. But since we got a place there in town, just a little place, they'll ski for a couple hours and they'll come back and have lunch and then not go back out.
Yeah.
And I think there's something so powerful. You had this constraint put on you where you were on your way to becoming a pro. Maybe you already were. but you could only do it on the weekends because you had a real life and you weren't just, made of money, or your family wasn't in a position to just, or you were going, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But this constraint forced a different mentality in you and a different outcome.
Yeah.
Versus even some of your friends who had the resource to just go all day, come back in, go a little bit. So any thoughts on that idea and how it's played a role?
No, it's interesting you say that, because for me, I think that, I mean, it's wild to say, but my entire career as a professional snowboarder, I've never lived in the mountains. So I think that's saying something. I mean, I've always, kept it at a distance for that reason, in a way. Like, I never wanted it to get old. I never wanted it to become something where it's just taken for granted. Like, I think, being able to go to the mountains and ride and then come back and have this normal life. One, it kept me at home having a normal life and, family, friends, activities, hobbies, things like that. But then, I'm not eating the same cereal every day. Like, you talk to people that live in New York City and you're like, oh my God, did you go to the Statue of Liberty? And they're like, no. Why? Why would I do that? You're like, well, you live in New York. That's so cool. And so that's the first thing I would do if I go there, because I'm from California. And they think about us like, oh, did you go to the beach every day? You must go every day.
Right.
I mean, it's the beach. And I'm like, I haven't been in months because it's just right there, So there's something special about that, only having a finite amount of time or, access to something. You start to crave it and you long for it and you appreciate it. And I definitely felt that with the sport of snowboarding. And then what's funny is I went pro in the sport of snowboarding, and now I have sponsors, and these sponsors are paying me handsomely to be a snowboarder. I'm flying around the world chasing the winter, and I lost a bit of that. So I'm going, oh my goodness, like I miss home, I miss the warm weather, I miss, these two worlds that I have, because this one is taking over. And I went pro in the I went pro in the sport of skateboarding. As one, because it's something I always wanted to do, and the grass is greener when you're not, skating. You want to be doing it, and so that was one. But two, it was out of necessity. I was like, at least if I'm not at home sitting on the sofa, which would have been nice, please, but
some
back then, So I could at least tell my sponsors, hey, look, I'm not doing that because I'm doing this. I'm not going to be out doing this in New Zealand or somewhere in Chile, what's the opposite snow seasons for us. But, I won't be doing that, but I'll still be on TV competing in some form or another. But what was great about that is it allowed me to hang up the snowboard and dive completely into skateboarding. You know what I mean? And that became my kind of yin yang of my sort of career for a long time. Winter would come, I would snowboard, and then come like March, April, I'd hang up the board. And boom, skateboarding. That's it.
And it sounds like that was just sort of intuitive for you, like, or maybe it's just what you wanted to do. But it seems like it made you better, maybe at both, having this balance. And I think that's just, it's something they teach in design school. I ended up going to Parsons School of Design, and it's a common topic that's not much discussed in the business world, this design by constraints. So like the idea is, rather than just say, hey man, make it however you want. When you give someone a tight brief that's like, it has to be this, in this box. Well, then you're kind of forced to deal with that constraint, and it creates massive creativity. Like putting something in a box, like I can only snowboard on the weekends. And now all of a sudden, like you feel this different kind of pressure that drives a different kind of creativity. And I believe the same is true in business. And, Lovesac has been really successful in certain ways because we got rid of a bunch of stuff and we said, we're only doing couches. And since then, we now have like the best-selling couch in the United States, and it's propelling the business. We'll do other things, but I just think like that's really cool to hear from you through a totally different
sphere of things.
Sphere.
And I don't know. I mean, it's something that I'm interested to see that in business too, because when you have so many options, you have so much time. I mean, I talk to musician friends of mine, and they're like, the song's not finished until we run out of studio time. Like, we'll just keep going forever. You just keep making these changes, and with too many options and too much of this and that, and you start going around this giant circle, and then the song kind of sounds the same as how you started.
Yeah. Well, it may be worse.
Because that initial sort of thing was the gut instinct that was right. And then well, why don't we try to, throw some bells and whistles on it? Sometimes that can help, but a lot of times it can just kind of throw you in a tailspin and you need to walk away. Or your friend shows up that has never heard the song. He's like, oh, just move the chorus. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's it. We were too close to the project. Yeah. We're too close to it. We can't see what's happening. And that was a hard one for me, especially with snowboarding. I'm so competitive. I'm so driven that like, you'd have to drag me away from the mountain. But that was the best thing for me, is to have to go, which I didn't realize at the time.
Yeah, that's a really interesting aspect. I mean, obviously something worked. Yes. And it's usually many things, but I think that's a really interesting aspect. And I think, thinking about the analogy to business, thinking about the analogy to other ventures, how, because like your analogy about music, who didn't do that? The Beatles. They'd go in and many of their most famous tunes were like 3 takes. And you think about that. These are talented musicians that had, at some point in that arc, all of, like you had at some point in your arc, all of the resource. To have all the studio musicians they wanted, all the producers. And they'd go in there with their own instruments, play through things and be like, yeah, that's good, move on.
Cut it and move on.
And so, I mean, so I think like, I like that, because in business for me, it's easy to view someone that is in the grind, and I'm in the grind. Here I am 25 years in. And I've chosen to just like see this thing through, because I really think we can turn Little Lovesack, that you've kind of watched come up from a distance,
of course,
into something really, really massive and important and useful to the world. So it's like, I don't want to just sell it and get super rich doing something else. And like, let's see if we can do this. Right. And once I changed my attitude to that, it also helped me relax, in that, it's not that I don't work hard, but you also don't necessarily, like, just becoming a workaholic or just being a workaholic, just because, like you said, it's never done. Yeah. Like, it's never, ever, ever done. The song could never be done.
Going. Yeah.
So it's like choosing to just hey man, I'm with my kid, I'm shutting it off in these hours. I may go back and work again from 9 to midnight.
Yeah.
But like in these hours, I'm gonna go surf. I'm gonna spend time with my kids. I'm gonna play some music. Yeah. That's been a superpower of mine. And then go back to sweeping floors when it's, time to sweep floors.
I think that was a thing that I had maybe later on in life, but for a long time, maybe in a slightly unhealthy way, I had trouble turning off. I had trouble like letting go.
But you balanced it across the sports though.
See, that's sure. I had the ability to do that, but in my mind, like, you know what I mean? I would just get fully consumed, and I would just kind of go, oh, well, if this isn't part of what is going to get me here, I don't need it. If this isn't something that helps along this path, then I don't really need it in my life. And then you kind of, get what you want when you're sitting there with everything you thought you wanted and needed, and you're not really thrilled about it. And so that's kind of a thing where, gosh, it would be terrible if the company was blowing up and these things are everywhere, you know what I mean? And it's number one sofa, and you got a terrible relationship with the kids. You didn't have any fun, and the path to get there is so thrilling and exciting. And for you to look back and go, oh my God, we used these farm machines to do this and that. Like, those are the cool things. Dude, I slept on the floor at Motel 6 while the manager's banging on the door, because you're only supposed to have 2 people in the room. We got a family of 5, and my mom's cooking on the stove, setting the fire alarm off.
That's
and
so awesome.
It just was how it was, and those moments made these moments so much better. And so to kind of like be able to, find that thread, I think it's something that I wish I would have, if I could go back in time, that's something I would have loved to have locked into earlier on in my career. Because I thought that by taking my, attention away from it showed some type of weakness, or that it wasn't, going to get me where I needed to go. But now looking at it, I was always going to get where I needed to go, but I could just appreciate the moments more,
Do you think you could have had the same career arc, you're the best in the world for a long time, had you taken some of those diversions that you're alluding to?
I think hmm, I I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say because what happened happened, and I can't go back and change things. But I do know that I got to a point where I was standing at the Olympics in Sochi. It was 2014, and I had this like insane winning run. I had all the tricks, and I just couldn't put it down. And deep
Mm.
down, I didn't really want to.
Mm.
I just kind of lost it. I lost the want to do
You
it,
didn't
and
care?
yeah, I just kind of lost the drive. And I
Mm.
was just like, well, winning just propels this kind of machine that I've built forward. And, you build so much on this one moment that it's going to change everything in your life. And it does in many ways, and others it doesn't. And I just think that one kind of got away because I just didn't have that excitement anymore. But if I would have been able to enjoy the process and been more in tune with all of that, I feel like that Olympics would have gone much differently.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that was kind of like what I found later. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So after that big loss in my life, I went, wow, okay, well, what's left now? The worst thing I could have thought of happening happened, and I'm still here. I'm still, loved by my family, and like, oh wow, look, I do have these things going on in my life that I haven't paid attention to, and I should pay more attention to this relationship and that and this and that. And that's where I kind of found not only, myself and the world I'd kind of built around myself, but also, my love of the sport. Because
Yeah.
in the end of the day, like, people look at the wins and the motivation and the competitions and my mindset and all these things. Like, he's a machine, he says that, but dude, I just loved snowboarding. I mean, that's
That's
why I
so
did it.
cool.
It's so much fun. I love doing it. And so in the end of the day, I kind of went through this full circle and found myself back where I was when I was younger, just like enjoying myself and just like a happier person. And then I was just like a happier person on the mountain, which is how I got here in the first place. So I feel like, I was drawing from this pool of inspiration that had kind of run dry. So
Interesting.
not to say that if I would have found it, I would have been even better than I would have been today. But yeah, I think in many ways, I think I would have found, kind of like another gear in the car that I didn't
Yeah.
know existed.
And do you think being in a relationship is part of that?
It's a mix. I mean, if it's a healthy one and, yeah, it's hard. And it's definitely like the right time and place and person. I mean, man, having relationships, I mean, with the partner is difficult just being out on the road. You have to have a very strong person in your life to see you, gallivanting around the world and, people taking pictures of these things and not feeling insecure or where do I, stack up in this person's life compared to their career. A lot of those things. Definitely family relationship. I mean, you watch the
Yeah.
documentary, family to me was so important.
Yeah.
And things in my world got really turbulent after the first Olympics because that family unit that just was like traveling in the van and wanted to live this dream of snowboarding finally lived the dream. And then we were all left with this like, well, what now?
Mm.
How do we keep everything the same? How do we not let anything change? But everything's changed. And now we are all kind of like you said, people are trying to carry my bags and we're flying all across the world, these nice hotels, these things, like everything had changed. And I just don't think that small family unit was ready for that.
Yeah.
So, it's an ebb and flow of things, but I think, relationships are paramount. I mean, it's the backbone of what I rely on. I mean, to be self-made is such, I think, a joke. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like, yes, I stood up there and I did the run when I had to, and my back was against the wall, one run to go, and I put it down. I did it for sure. I conquered the nerves and made it happen, but there were so many people in my corner to get me there and
Yeah.
to get me ready and to high five me before I dropped in and to kind of look in my eyes and give me the like, I believe in you and you got this kind of feeling before I went. So all of those factors, got me where I am today. And so, yeah, I think those relationships are massive.
Yeah, you got to be careful with success because
Mhm.
as you achieve any of it, things change, things get easier. You get a place on the mountain, your kids come in for lunch too early, metaphorically speaking. And I think it's not always like doesn't lead to the places you want unless you guide it. And that's, I think, why for the book, the reason this chapter, the Shawnism, is phrased, and it's one that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
It's very core on the list of Shawnisms is the be willing. It's not necessarily that you're sweeping floors. There are times where you need people to carry your bags because you're preserving every ounce of energy. Let's say, I don't know.
Of course. Yeah.
Even metaphorically, like there's times where it's not efficient for you to sweep floors.
Of course.
As an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's great you want to take donuts to all these shops, but if you end up in Bryan Head delivering donuts to my mountain, I can tell you there's a better place, right? Like there are better ways to spend your time as a CEO, as a leader, as a creative, as a but are you willing? And do the people around you know that if it comes down to it, you're willing to show up with donuts or to carry your own bags?
Yeah.
And I believe, based on everything I've observed, that you are. And that's a big reason for your success. It's not always that you sweep floors, so you're willing. So look, hey, this has been so amazing to learn from you. I guess just maybe one last question I want to get in there.
Please.
So the title of the book, the title of the podcast, right? Let me save you 25 years. Yeah. The idea is, hey, look, I did so many things poorly that if you learn from my mistakes, it might not take you 25, right?
Yeah, I love it.
What is there anything that you'd offer, like, to a younger Shaun, you, Shaun, Shaun, to a younger you, or to any other Shaun out there, so to speak, making their way up? How would you? What advice would you give to save them 25 years? Or a chunk of it?
No, that's great. Gosh, I think my gut reaction is jumping back to that point and finding the fulfillment in it. Finding that place, because it is a grind. But if you can learn to it's not about surviving the storm. It's learning to dance in the rain. It's those quotes, those success without fulfillment is the greatest failure. It's those things. It's like finding the enjoyment along the path, and then the destination doesn't even really matter, and if you hit those goals, then it's amazing, but you're just enjoying the process. It's like Rocky. He doesn't win the first movie. It's like who he has to become in order to get to that place. So I feel like the amount of time spent for me, I think I learned this pretty early on, but like the heartaches in life are these gifts that you end up learning from. And so if you can accept those with like an open mind and go, wow, I'm about to learn something, or I'm about to embark on, hey, everything's, hit the floor, and what do we do now? The shredder broke, and the order's due, and what are we going to do? And oh my goodness, this happened in my personal life, and oh my God, the world's ending. You're going to grow at this point. And, if I look back through my life, every time I was faced with a really, really hard time, I blew my knee out at 16. I was born with a congenital heart defect. I was, I had my face ripped open in New Zealand months before the Olympic qualifiers. Like all these things where I thought the world was over, just like I changed in some way to rise to the occasion. And I feel a better person for having had that incident. And so if you can kind of greet those moments with that mindset and that sort of like, wow, there are no mistakes. We're just learning. Life's the marathon, not the sprint. And as long as I know my goals and where I'm going, and you take the steps toward those, like that's the track you want to be on. So I think that's where my gut kind of goes, where people can save some time and believing in yourself and not letting these setbacks take you in 10 different directions, and you show back up to, well, I wanted to do this with my life, and then this happened. So then I went running off to do something else, and then but my heart wasn't in it. So now I'm back doing this, and then something else happened, and now I ran off to do something different, and if you can truly sink in and put the work in and do the difficult times, like you said, sweep the floors, be willing, do these things, like it pays dividends later.
You look up and you're 18 medals in. And who knew,
and gosh, I'm trying to think. I think this is maybe something newer for me, and maybe you had more experience with this as an entrepreneur when you were younger. But for me, I grew up snowboarding,
Yeah.
sports. That's what I was doing. And once I accumulated a certain amount of, wealth or success, like I had no idea what to do with it. And there's a zillion people out there that, want to take advantage or want to be in your corner because they want to be next to the person doing these big things. And they don't always have best intentions for you. And those setbacks can be major. And so for me, it wasn't till later on in life that I was like, enough's enough. Like I started going to business seminars. I started doing online classes. I started doing these things and learning about my world, which I really didn't want to do. I just wanted to be the best at snowboarding.
Yeah.
But once I put in the time and the effort, I realized not only am I capable enough to handle these things, it just seems so daunting. Like, I can't do that. It's something that is so out of my scope.
Complex.
I got to stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And once I dipped a toe, I was like, wow, this isn't so bad. I understand it. And my instincts are just as great as the next person. And so that was something that really helped me later on. So my advice would be that, yes, you're setting out in this path to do this type of career, but it doesn't hurt to kind of learn some of the fundamental steps leading toward that.
Yeah. I mean, there are some complexities in finance and accounting and who knows what, but business, common sense. If you have pretty good common sense and you can think rationally, why can't you be successful?
Of course.
And there are people that will convince you otherwise, but I very much believe that,
Yeah. So those I stole with two things, but those are my two things. Enjoy the ride and educate yourself.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was great. Well, anything you want to plug or anything you want to get out there?
Oh, man.
To our listeners?
Gosh, if you haven't seen it, please go check out my my documentary.
So good.
The Last Run on Max.
So good.
Super fun to do that project. So eye-opening and what a crazy experience. I'm so thrilled it's over because every time I watch the thing, I'm like transported back to where I was. So I'm like gripped in the movie theater.
I've never rewatched my reality TV show.
Okay.
Not one time.
It's tough to look back and go, what was I thinking? You know what I mean? And then, I got this really fun book that I put together with Rizzoli coming out called Airborne.
Awesome.
So fun to see the photographs of your life. And I traveled with photographers since I was a kid. So we're pulling just these gems from over time. So I'm at that point in my career where, I did a documentary, I did like a fun coffee table book. So that'll be coming out in October.
Perfect.
And then this winter season, man, check out some white space products. It's so much fun to, as you know, create a product and then just see people enjoy it.
Nothing more
satisfying.
saw
My first board out on the mountain. I was up at Park City and it was an 8-year-old girl got off the chairlift and my heart sank.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, riding my board. And I'm covered. I got the mask and the goggles, and so I like run up on her. I'm like, hey, like that's a really cool board. She's like, yeah, thanks.
Just some pervert.
Yeah, I'm like, okay,
Totally.
And I'm like, well, can I get a high five? She's like, okay, and so I get the high five and her chaperone or coach kind of clocked me and went, are you? And so I, pulled the goggles up and it was an awesome moment, but like just that for me, it was so rewarding. Like I spent so much time creating this product and putting my stamp of approval and testing and materials, all these things in it. And now somebody's enjoying it. And especially someone that age, like I remember getting my first snowboard. I still have it, like what it meant to me. And to be that for the next generation, like it's beyond a company. It's beyond, trying to be a successful brand. Like there's this deeper rooted sort of fulfillment in it. So,
well, this day and age, everyone wants to start a tech company because the valuations are crazy and they can exit rich without ever making a profit. Who knows? But there is nothing like seeing your products in the wild. I checked into this hotel and the woman behind the counter, I just have to tell you. Yeah. And sure enough, she's had a love sack since early 2000s. And it's like, it's just so satisfying.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it other than
that's
it's almost one of the closer things to having children because your products are like your babies, you know,
for sure,
and
yeah.
not the same. But,
I'm not there yet, but I'll tell you.
Yeah, right.
Soon
But
enough.
but it's the same emotion, and it's super satisfying. And it's worthwhile, especially if they're good. And that's what I love about what you're doing.
Yeah,
it's like let's just make good. Let's make the best stuff.
Yeah.
That's how we are at Lovesac, and I know that's of course how you are. To keep up. I mean, if you're the product tester,
oh, of course,
then I know it's the best stuff. That's cool.
Well, that's how we're getting the edge on the competition.
Yeah,
you know? we gotta do something different.
I'm due for a new board. It will be white space.
Yes,
I want your book. I'll send you a signed copy of mine. It comes out this winter as well.
We'll trade. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so cool. All right, you can follow Shaun with a U, Shaun, right? S-H-U-N.
S-H-A-U-N. Yeah.
S-H-A-U-N. You can follow Shaun as I do on social media, in particular on Instagram at Shaun White spelled out, where he has over 2.1 million followers and white space with a bunch of underscores after it with a bunch of underscores. Please don't forget to like this podcast. Let me save you 25 years. Please subscribe and do share it out on social media to help others save a chunk off their own 25-year march because you are just that kind of friend. Thank you so much to the Sultan of snowboarding, the skateboard sovereign honcho of the half pipe, and a literal living legend sitting right here with me. Holy crap. Who's not even through his 30s yet and still setting records and building an empire himself, Mr. Shaun White. This was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And to everyone listening, always be willing to sweep floors. It just might save you 25 years. Grateful to be with you.
My trip that I do once a year to take my friends away should not be the budget for your bike across America.
TikTok has become an aggregator for some of the dumbest human actions.
When I won that million, I was 2 million in debt, barely hanging on.